Hey guys, it's Sophia with Kamikaze Kiwi, and today we're going to talk about how comic books are actually just professional fan fiction. I don't know if you can tell, I'm super shaky. I am hopped off on 2 pots of coffee. My husband got sick and I've been taking care of him. I haven't slept for a couple days, but of course I always want to make sure that I talk to you guys on Friday, and honestly I could use a break from playing nurse wife. Okay, I gotta focus. So what I want to talk about is how comic books are fan fiction, and that's really all there is to it. There's really nothing more to that. Now, I'm not gonna get into the whole why works are derivative or what makes something a fan fiction versus not. It's anything that a fan has written, and I'm gonna go through some examples of why things are fan fiction that are popular, because a lot of people say, oh no, fan fiction just means that it's written by a fan and thusly it's not popular, and that's not true. Fan fiction is just a fiction based on something that already exists. And yeah, I mean, in theory it's written by a fan, but if that fan goes on to become an author, there you go, they're a professional now. And the thing is, especially comic books, they always build on what was done beforehand, but we're going to start with something that y'all might know so that it makes a little bit more sense. So the idea that something is a fan fiction of something else and then it becomes its own thing is totally normal. Perhaps a great example, if you're a musical fan, is My Fair Lady. My Fair Lady is basically the retelling in a different universe of Pygmalion by George Bernard Shaw. And Pygmalion by George Bernard Shaw is just a retelling in a different universe of Pygmalion. The difference is Pygmalion, the myth, ancient myth. The difference is, instead of the statue coming to life and them falling in love, George Bernard Shaw, being the ever wonderfully bitter person that he is, didn't have anybody fall in love. And then, of course, because we had to make it a musical and we had to make it happy, we have My Fair Lady, and they do fall in love. So what's the difference? They just changed the names, and it was just someone who was a fan of the previous work changing names, making a different universe. Now, some super current example of that is 50 Shades of Grey, and I hate that book and I hate those movies. Not because it started as fan fiction, which is something that happens occasionally, but because it's crappy. We're not going to get into that because I only have 5 minutes, and that's just... Woo, that's a different topic. That's a different topic for less coffee. Probably less coffee and less anger and less bitterment. 50 Shades of Grey is a different topic. Moving on. But it started off as a fan fiction of Twilight, but because it was set in a different universe, and if you change names around, then it's really not the same thing anymore, even though it was based on that. So does that make it derivative, or does it make it its own thing, or is that kind of a gray area? Well, yeah, it is kind of a gray area. And whenever you're talking about novels, that's a thing. The gray area, the fanfic turned novel, the is it Twilight fan fiction if it no longer resembles Twilight thing. Anyhow, with comics, it's a little different. See, comics are basically fan fictions of themselves. Every time you create a character, and then you as Marvel or DC or any other, Dark Horse or whatever, any other company, if you want to then just redo your character, you just hire a different writer or fire a writer, or say, okay, but what if Superman landed in communist Russia instead of America? Well, that just becomes an alternate reality fanfic that you hired someone to write professionally. Or, in some cases, people have written it and then you liked it, so then you hired them to write that professionally. But it doesn't change the fact that it's actually all just fanfiction of itself. It gets to the point where, especially in the DC universe, I feel like this is a big thing. DC reboots itself all the time, just for funsies. It's it's a Tuesday, let's reboot everybody. In this case, it's a Friday, and let's talk about how we rebooted everybody on Tuesday. And that's literally just another retelling. It's just another fanfic of a universe that is already in existence. There's also, lots of things like crossover fanfic, which is just what it sounds like. Whenever two characters, either from two different fandoms or two different arcs or two different whatever, who have never really met before, then cross over into each other's story, and that happens a lot. And there's even DC Marvel crossover comics. So honestly, whenever you look at a comic and you think comics are weird, because they are, comics are super wackadoodly weird. Like, okay, Thor was a female horse. No, Loki was a female horse for a little while. Horse alien, by the way. Thor was a frog, and that stuff's all kind of like normal. Like, and Thor was a woman, is a woman. There's a lot of things, and that's why I'm going to use the whole comics are weird. But a lot of that is because comics are just fan fiction of themselves. And every single one of those writers probably started off by saying, oh, I really like this particular character, this particular universe, or this particular setup. And then they just made it into something that they wanted to see, which honestly is how like most nerd things go. So whenever you think about comics, if you think about it in the context of it just being fans writing more fiction based on their fandom, the idea of comics being weird, or sometimes them not quite flowing, or the fact that stories don't ever really get finished sometimes, makes sense, because it just is. That's how fan fiction goes. Anyways, so that's my thing today, my coffee-fueled thing today. I would love to know what you think. Do you think that comics are just fan fictions of themselves on a professional level? Do you hate fan fiction? Do you love fan fiction? I personally am a big fan of fan fiction, fanfics. I think that it's a great opportunity for people to improve their writing skills or just tear down everything you love. You know, it usually goes hand in hand. Anyways, leave a comment down below, like, comment, subscribe, what all that stuff. I gotta go. I have to actually get back to work. I work also. This is just me nerding out, but I also work, and then I take these 5 minutes during work to nerd out, and it's usually about things that I'm currently working on. I gotta go. I gotta drink more coffee and make it through today. I hope y'all make it through today too. Bye!